Hey everyone, good evening. Welcome to Higher Ed Live. I'm Drew Milliken. I'm your guest host for this evening's edition, and this is my first time doing this. I'm really excited about that. I'm the Director of Recent Graduate Relations at Groton School in Groton, Massachusetts. Groton is a 8 through 12 boarding school of about 375 students. And I, in addition to working in the Alumni and Development Office here with our recent graduates, I also run Groton's social media campaign as well, so all the Facebook, Twitter, etc. Please be sure to follow us tonight, and you can follow the conversation on Twitter at Higher Ed Live, and you can also follow me at Drew Milliken, DrewMillikin, and I'm really looking forward to tonight's show. I hope you enjoy it. Today we're going to be talking about sort of social media and how it's relevant in the independent school world. But before I get into all that stuff, let's introduce tonight's sponsors. We're sponsored tonight by Omni Update. Omni Update is a leading web content management system, CMS, provider for higher education. The company's web CMS, OU Campus, is secure and scalable with great tools and features, deployment flexibility, and an awesome user community. Going to Higher Ed Web Michigan or EDU Social, chat it up with Mario Lanilo, E. Shirley, and JJ Rex at the Omni Update booth. And Higher Ed Live is also sponsored by Integral, creators of the school's app, a private Facebook community to boost enrollment and retention. Check out their blog at Integral Insights. Check out their blog, Integral Insights, for posts of admissions marketing, student engagement, and social media in higher education. I'll be tweeting that link out to the blog now. So now let me introduce my guest. With me tonight, I've got Stephen Porter, who is the Director of Public Information and Web Publishing at Phillips Academy in Andover. Phillips Academy is a boarding high school that serves over 1,000 students. And Steve has been at the school for the past 8 years, leading its web and social media development efforts. Stephen, welcome to Higher Ed Live.
Thank you, Drew. It's nice to be here.
Hey, great. So Stephen, I think to start the conversation now, why don't we just dive right into it and figure out and hear about where Phillips Academy is in social media. What channels are you on? We use
a wide variety of social media venues. We use Facebook, Twitter, Vimeo, YouTube, Ning, Evertrue, LinkedIn. So there's a whole bunch of them that we use. And Facebook and Twitter are probably definitely our two most important ones. Although YouTube and Vimeo and SmugMug are very important resources and tools that we use to create and hold the content that we push out
would you say that
social media venues like Facebook and Twitter. So we're using quite a lot of them, and
that's great.
We've got a couple of blogs that we use.
Would you say that Facebook and Twitter are the two primary ones, or do the YouTube and Vimeo fall in sort of right there too?
They're two different things. The Facebook and Twitter are the tools that we use to interact with people. So we post a lot of content on YouTube, and we post a lot of content on Vimeo, and a lot of photos on our SmugMug account. And we use Facebook, especially Facebook. We have about 20,000 users on Facebook, and so we use that to push out all kinds of information, links to content that lives on our website, that lives on SmugMug, that lives on Vimeo and YouTube. Twitter is tied. We've got about 3,000 Twitter users, and that is tied to our website newsroom. So anything we post on our website automatically is posted to Twitter. And then beyond that, we will do tweets, of a random variety on different kinds of topics.
So would you say to use Facebook to sort of drive traffic to the other site? So Facebook really is a place where clearly you get a huge audience, and what you're doing is trying to get it to that SmugMug channel, to that YouTube video, that Vimeo channel?
Absolutely. we do a lot of cross-linking between all our venues, between our social media venues and our website. And we also have a e-newsletter. That's actually a really important part of the equation. The e-newsletter, we have really two e-newsletters, but we have our main e-newsletter. It's called just e-news, Andover e-news, that is sent out every other week. And it's sent out to our largest sort of mailing list that we have of people for whom we have emails. And it's sent out to alumni, faculty, and parents. And that contains all the sort of interesting information that we think people would be interested in. So that's sent out every other week, and on the off weeks we have a parent bulletin e-newsletter that's sent just to parents. So that's very specific to current parents. But the main e-newsletter that goes out every other week is a huge traffic driver to our content, and that content could live on our website, and it could live on our Facebook page, or it could live on our SmugMug accounts or in our YouTube channel. So we do a lot of cross-linking. Sometimes we're cross-linking 3 or 4 different ways with all our venues, and that's really been critical for driving traffic and keeping the venues popular.
So you mean email isn't dead?
No, email is definitely not dead. I'm always amazed when I hear people talking about that.
That's good.
But it's important. We can watch the Google Analytics to see just what a difference sending out an e-newsletter makes. I mean, we get when we do a Facebook post or we do a Twitter post, we can see that traffic, those analytics, and see that it makes a difference as well. And we can see the views on our SmugMug photos, or the views on our YouTube videos, or the traffic to our web posts, our news items, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But when we send out the e-news, that's the real traffic driver ultimately. Yeah.
So do you have targets? So I mean, you said you have on the off week you've got the parent e-newsletter, and that's clearly targeted towards current parents. But on each of these other channels, do you have specific targets in there?
You mean in terms of an audience that we're shooting for?
Yeah, exactly. So the Facebook audience, I mean, versus, say, the blogs or wherever.
Yeah, we want to serve all the audiences, just as any school does. And so there's definitely a breakdown with some of the channels. Our main Facebook page was the Facebook page was really the first social media venue we got into, and we launched that in 2009, shortly after we did a sort of a massive website redesign. And so one of the first things we did, I think, was actually launch a SmugMug account. And then I think we launched a Vimeo account, and then we launched Facebook. And that all sort of happened in 2009, early 2009. And the Facebook, when we launched it, we made the decision that we wanted that to go to the full audience of people that we have. We wanted this to be a community where there would be different voices, current students talking to alums, talking to parents. And we felt that we needed a place where everyone could come together, and that the community would be richer if we had one place where they could all meet. We thought Facebook was the tool to do that. And that's, I think that decision made early was one thing that helped our Facebook to grow as fast as it did, because I know there are some schools that launched an alumni Facebook page and a new student Facebook page and a parent Facebook page maybe. We decided not to do that. We decided to launch just one Facebook page, and it has become a really nice place for people to talk together, and especially young alums. I mean, I think over time it's evolved so that our young alums are the most active users, but we get a lot of activity from older alums and parents as well.
Right. Well, and that's the goal of the Facebook page, isn't it? To really exhibit that vibrant community, and if you've got all constituents on there talking, liking, going back and forth, leaving comments, that really does sort of exhibit that and put that front and forward, doesn't it?
Right, absolutely. And so that's worked great. And then we have the Twitter is sort of interesting. I think a lot of independent schools have struggled a little bit with Twitter, and probably we have as well. I wouldn't say we struggled with it, but we didn't pay as much attention to it initially. Right. We set up an automatic news link that pushed out our news onto Twitter, and for a while we just let it run, and whoever had Twitter could access it if they wanted.
Right.
But I think in the independent school world, our students have not been big Twitter users. So that's been a difference, I think, especially, say, to the college world. But then for alums, what we did was we created, first thing, go ahead. Did you want to say something, Drew?
No, yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that. You know, it's funny. I came to Groton in 2009, and from higher education, from college, St. Michael's College up from Burlington, Vermont, and a little plug to my alma mater there. I found that there were a lot more college students using Twitter when I was doing the same thing up there in the admissions office, and then coming here, nobody was really on Twitter at all. But I found in probably the last year and a half that, and I think you'll see there's some Pew Internet research out there showing that Twitter usage amongst teenagers and the age groups that we work with is skyrocketing. It's expanding exponentially, and especially when you're getting new apps like Instagram and Vine out there as well. I think you're finding some of the younger ones really using it more and more and more.
I would agree. I think we're starting to see a bit of a change in that. We've in the past year we started to play around with hashtags and trying to promote hashtag use among the audience that's following Twitter, and and trying to engage current students, in the use of those hashtags. And we've had mixed success with that. I have to be honest, but we are definitely seeing an uptick in a number of current students that are using Twitter.
Yeah.
But the audience is still much smaller than Facebook.
Well, yeah, it's hard to get any bigger than 20,000
among current students.
for you guys. So I definitely want to get back to the Facebook thing first. But I think that if anyone
on the alumni side, we've experimented with a couple of things and not always successfully, and we may talk about that later. But we use Ning. We created a community for alumni on Ning, and when we launched it, we had great hopes for it, and we actually have almost 6,000 users on there. But it's not been a particularly active place, and so that was an experiment that's still ongoing. But
right.
But that was something we set up specifically for alums, and then we've recently, in the last year or so, adopted Evertrue, which I know a lot of independent schools are adopting now, and to try and serve the alumni audience. And LinkedIn a little bit. LinkedIn is definitely another tool that we use really specifically for alumni, and that's had some value as well.
Those two sort of go hand in hand, don't they? The Evertrue app and the LinkedIn, and we've just adopted them as well. And we found that I think those guys are doing some really exciting things over there at Evertrue. We're certainly thrilled with our rollout and the use that we've gotten out of it, and the way that they're connecting with LinkedIn now is really exciting. I think that's something that we can absolutely capitalize on going forward as well. But hey, so this is not necessarily social media related, but I think anyone who's been to the Andover site or has been to walkabout.andover.edu or has seen this on your admission page is going to ask a question about it and is going to be blown away by that. I mean, when I was on there, I certainly was. This is a really visually interesting piece. The screenshots won't do it justice. I'll encourage anyone who's watching here to go on and check out the Walkabout page at Andover. And I mean, it's not a page; it's a whole system, I guess. But can you tell us a little bit about that, about the Walkabout, what the idea is, what the purpose of it, and how you guys use it?
Yeah, Walkabout, we launched that last March, just in time for the admission acceptance season, just as our acceptance letters were going out. And it's really targeted at both the prospective student and the student who has accepted our offer of admission and is trying to decide which school they want to go to. It's really, really a cool interactive experience that we created. And we worked with a company out of Boston called Genuine Interactive. And it started with a desire to do something besides a traditional admission video, a traditional linear admission video. And we didn't really know what we wanted to do, but we wanted something that felt more genuine, had a strong student voice, would be more engaging for students, and feel a little bit, you know, hipper, if you will. That's kind of an old word for. And so we just had a conversation with this company called Genuine Interactive, and we started talking about the kinds of things that we could do, experience, and roll through the experience. As they came up with, allowed people to scroll if it were a video. It's a couple of different proposals, and one of them was this really cool, so it feels like an interactive video. We have 5 featured students in the experience, and they walk across different scenes of the campus, sort of seamlessly moving from one scene to another. And as you scroll, different hotspots pop up, and in those hotspots you can click on videos, you can click on photo galleries, you can click on text links, and you can jump from one section of the experience to another to try and find those things that fit your interests as a student. And the idea was that we really wanted to show the prospective student what the Andover experience was really like. We wanted these kids to talk about the journey that they had made through Andover, the difference it had made in their lives, and we wanted them to take the prospective student on a journey, you know, sort of through the campus, both sort of the the scenic campus, physical campus, but also through the Andover experience that they had. So it was it's a pretty unique kind of thing, and that we really haven't seen anyone else do. And it's been really successful. We've had people, when we first launched it, the average visit time was 10 minutes per visit.
Wow.
And which was, you know, amazing. Anybody who knows. Right. And now it's traveled to 7 minutes and 30 seconds, but we're still happy with that.
Yeah, it's still phenomenal.
And, people seem to return to it again and again because you can't do it. Right. You can't do the whole experience all at once. So you sort of have to come back, and there's lots there for people to see and play with. So that was a great thing. And to get the social media connection, the one thing we did was put in a little Facebook like button, so you could like certain things that you see within that experience, and hopefully we're hoping to generate some sort of viral traffic to the Walkabout through that.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's incredible too is it works on mobile as well, almost the exact same way that it does on the website here. If I can do it backwards with looking at the camera screen, which I can barely do. So it's a really well-designed piece, which I mean, the fact that people spend 7 minutes on it still a year out is pretty incredible. And it must be a lot of fun to be involved with that, huh?
Thank you. Yeah, it was great fun. It was very, you know, it took a lot of time to do, but it was a great experience. I do have to put a disclaimer out there, though. I definitely don't recommend people do it on their mobile phone. We knew when we did this experience that there would be some decay in the experience if you did it on your mobile phone, but that was something we decided we would live with. So it's really designed for the desktop and possibly an iPad.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, like I said, I definitely encourage anyone to go on to walkabout. Make sure I got the exact right address here before I spout it out. Yeah, walkabout.andover.edu, because it is a really neat visual experience and incredibly creative and really interesting. It blew me away when I first popped onto it and thought, wow, we can't go through this show and not talk about this piece of web design. But so to get back onto the social media discussion here, so you guys have an incredible 20,000 fans on your Facebook page. And I did a little, actually helped out with a presentation here for our trustees a couple months ago, comparing where Groton lies to its competitors, and you guys lead the pack by far. Exeter is second with 7,000. Deerfield's got about 4,900, and you know, little old us, we're sitting right around the 2,000 fan mark, which makes me feel only slightly inadequate. But you guys are blowing everybody out of the water here. What's your secret?
Yeah, this is a little tricky. I wish I could say it's incredible brilliance on our part. I'm not sure we can claim too much credit for this. But there are a couple things I guess I could say that we think have helped us. Certainly, it's fair to say that Andover is a bigger school than most schools out there, with 1,000 students and some 20,000 alumni, a body. So we've got a lot more people than some of the smaller independent schools. So that's certainly helpful. Partly, the success we've had with it can be attributed to some of the decisions we made early on. As I said before, we started with just a single Facebook page and with the goal of making it a community that everybody could go to and be together, as opposed to splitting the audience and having people go to different places. We did a lot of promotion for the Facebook page early on, and we made sure it had high visibility on our website, which I think some schools were actually slow to do. You couldn't. It was very difficult to find some schools' Facebook pages for quite a while, but we were out there pretty visibly right at the start, and then the crosslinks that we do. I think we're pretty good about doing crosslinks, as I said, between our different social media venues and with our e-newsletter, and I think that really makes a huge difference. And then I think success breeds success. So we ramped up relatively slowly. We felt good about it at the time, but as the numbers have gotten bigger, then they've gotten bigger faster. And so there's a bit of a success breeds success kind of phenomenon that goes on here. That's actually sort of interesting. Lastly, what we would love to say is it's the quality of the posting we do. We're just so brilliant in the things that we post. But I've looked around at the other things that other schools are posting, and I don't think that we're doing anything that anybody else hasn't figured out how to do as well. We are sometimes surprised by what is the most popular post on a particular day. We try and we try and post fun things. We try and post interesting things. Clearly, nostalgia is important to the alumni community. But you never know for sure what's really going to capture the imagination and generate a lot of likes or shares. So we just sort of have fun with it, and we've been just sort of happy to see that it's been working.
That's great. Do you guys have a sort of weekly goal where you want to post every day or 3 times a week or anything, or do you post a news story on Tuesdays? Do you post a nostalgia story on Wednesdays? Anything like that, like a communications calendar for Facebook?
We are not very structured in how we do this. I know I've sat in a lot of conferences with where corporations are giving presentations on their social media, and they have editorial meetings and editorial calendars. And to be honest, we fly a little bit by the seat of our pants, and we just try and keep an eye on things that are happening on campus. And there's a couple of us in the office that do most of the posting. And we just what are we going to do today, or what are we going to do tomorrow?
Do you guys look at analytics a lot, or is that really kind of not important? Really, you can kind of tell by the likes that you're getting by looking at the Facebook page that you guys are being successful in the content that you're posting, or do you kind of dig in deeper to those sort of the Facebook posts where you can see the likes, engaged users talking about this virality or virility or whatever you want to call it? Virility? I don't know. What is that? Not to be
virility. Yeah, we got a lot of virility. Yeah. Yes, we are again just sort of as we're not as organized in having editorial calendars and planning out our posts. We're not as focused on checking analytics every day or once a week and doing measurements all the time. We're pretty much, our philosophy seems to be just do it, get out there and do it, and you have a sense of whether it's working or not. Clearly, you can see the likes that any post, this particular post is getting, or the number of comments or the number of shares.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really get too hung up, and we can also, we check Google Analytics and have a sense of how many views are getting generated, on a web page or on a smug mug photo gallery. So we can see, what's sort of working, but we don't really spend a lot of time analyzing that and thinking about what does this all mean. We just say, okay, this sort of seems to be working, so let's just keep doing it. And it's interesting. I mean, at some point it gets down to the question of, how do you define success? And is it how many likes you get, how many shares you get, how many comments you get? And for some things, we've had posts that only got, say, 30 likes but got 26 comments. Well, that's great. And then you'll have another post that gets 300 likes and no comments. And what does that mean in the end result? How many people have seen what you've done, or how many users have you engaged? Well, that's a whole other different set of numbers. And it's interesting looking at the analytic reports of Facebook. I mean, if you organize the posts by engaged users, and the top 10 posts based on engaged numbers, that top 10 is very different than if you organize it by reach or by talking about this. And so we don't spend a lot of time looking at that. We get a sense, this kind of stuff is working, and we just sort of go with it and run with it.
That's great.
When something works, we say, let's do more of that. But
yeah. Well, I'm looking over our notes here, and I really like this last one on this segment that you happen to jot down, which says just do it and fail fast. So I'm assuming that means, if you have a failure, just do it, take the risk. If you fail, move on, head right to the next thing, right?
That's right. That's really pretty much been our philosophy right from the start, when we didn't know should we get on Facebook or not. We didn't spend a lot of time trying to convince upper-level management that Facebook was the place to be. We just sort of said, we're going to do this. We're going to go on SmugMug. We're going to go on Vimeo. We knew we had some high-level support from our head of school, but there were people who were concerned, and we just said, we're going to do it, and it's going to be fine. We know it's going to be fine, and that attitude is sort of carried through, where we just sort of go and just sort of decide among ourselves, okay, let's try this and let's try that, and it's more of an art than a science, I think, for us.
This is probably a good time to pause and maybe talk about the team that you have there in your office, your communications office, or you're clearly in your role, you've got access to the Facebook stuff. Who else makes posts to social media channels that you guys are on?
A lot of what happens on social media is done here in the communications office. We have our communications office consists of about 11 people, of which 3 of us are really dedicated to the online communications. The other people are more dedicated to print communications. And so there are 2 of us specifically who do most of the posting of anything that goes online, really. We did create an alumni Facebook page about a year ago that some people in the alumni office are doing some posting there, but we actually help them out with that. And that's been marginally successful. And then we have an admission Facebook page, and there's 1 or 2 people in the admission office that will post there. But that's really targeted at the prospective and brand new student. So it's not meant to have a big audience. Mm-hmm. So it's in terms of the team consists of sort of 2 content people, myself included, and then we have 1 guy who's sort of a technical guy that actually works, web designer, if you will, and who can help out with technical issues. And then, of course, we have our technology office that will help us as we need it. But from a content perspective, there's really just 2 of us in our communications office that are doing, 95% of the posting.
That's great. So going back, we just talked about, the fail fast motto of your office to some extent. Maybe too much. It's probably not a motto, but that perspective. I often find that failures can be great teaching moments. Have you guys had any what you would call failures or things that you haven't been successful in implementing?
Yeah, we definitely go out there and just sort of do it and see what works. This Ning community that I talked about before for our alumni is something that we're starting to see as maybe something that's not really going to work for the long term. When we first launched it, we were really excited about it. It had all the features you would think you would want in an alumni community, a place for people to post blogs and have discussions, post photos and videos, have online chats. And we said, this is a password-protected place where our alumni can go and have conversations with each other, where we can post information that we want only alumni to see. And it looks good. Other schools have seen it and been impressed with it. And the numbers of people who have joined it is actually pretty good. We have about 6,000 members, and it's still growing. But what we found is that once people join, they look around a little bit, do a couple things, and then they sort of disappear. And there's not a lot of ongoing activity in there. And I think we sort of reached a point where we're saying, this may be just not be a tool that the alumni really need. The alumni thought they wanted it. We thought they would want it. But in the end, we're thinking maybe there's really not a market, for it. And so we're thinking that may be something that goes away. We created a Facebook alumni page sort of to test, well, maybe alumni would rather be on a Facebook alumni page. But the jury's still out on that, whether that's going to really pan out. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we get rid of the alumni Facebook page and just stick with the one main Facebook page where everybody can be together.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of examples of things that.
Yeah, I wonder if almost like a LinkedIn group could have some of the same features that you guys have created with Blue Link, and maybe even that alumni Facebook page. If that's an area where you'd find success in there, that's something that certainly we're thinking about. Because I remember when I first came in here, I saw your Blue Link and thought, boy, we should do something like that for Groton. But your story, I think a lot of schools like us do struggle with creating that online alumni community, and it seems like maybe LinkedIn is the answer to that.
I think that's a good point. I agree that LinkedIn seems to be a place, and we've had a LinkedIn page for alumni for a while now, but we haven't paid a lot of attention to it and been real creative with it. We've actually have a couple of alumni who have sort of taken charge of it, and they're doing trying to do some job mentoring and job opportunities kinds of things within LinkedIn, and they've had some success with that. But I do feel like maybe that's something that we can do more with, and and especially with Evertrue, connecting to LinkedIn, I think there's a real opportunity to do more with that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one as well. So as we kind of talk about new opportunities, one place I always look to is higher education, and this is again that's where I came from before I came to Groton, and this may be a bit of an unfair question, but because I don't know if you've ever worked in higher education, but do you see differences or similarities in ways schools like ours use marketing tools versus the way that colleges and universities? Reminding the audience that we are both high schools. In my case, we have an 8th grade as well. So our demographics are very different from what universities are. We're basically, 4 or 5 years down the line from what colleges and universities are using or recruiting from. So do you see similarities and differences there?
Yeah, absolutely. In the school level, we have less manpower usually, less money, resources to work with. Andover probably is a little luckier than some other independent schools. We have universities are a great place for more to go and resources, and some other independent schools will see what what's to do happen, but and what we can learn from. Still, we can't throw. There's a difference, and we talked about it's not as important. Instagram might be more important, but that's a difference. The role that parents play is a big difference. parents. We have to communicate with them. We have to assure them. New parents have to be convinced that their kids are going to be okay, and current parents want to know what's going on. So we need to sort of always be thinking about the parent in a way that colleges, I think, don't have to.
Yep.
We don't have any original research to tap into for content posting. So I see stuff going up on Harvard and Stanford and MIT that makes me very jealous that they're able to post these incredible sort of research findings and ongoing projects that we just don't have. So there's some things we just can't do. Alums don't, our young alums, when they graduate from here, they really don't have any money. They really don't. So you're trying to engage them without it being necessarily an ask. You try and talk to them and engage them because you can't, all the time. We can't use student bloggers, probably to the extent that I've seen a lot of colleges use their students.
I have to say that
we do have a student blog, but it's much more managed than you'd see at a college level.
Yeah, I have to say that is the one thing that when I came here, because I really helped to ramp up the St. Mike's blogs with college students, and coming to this, it's been one of the most frustrating pieces of the transition because they don't. At the college, I could have my bloggers in the admission office. I could pay them. I could entice them with tons of food, and they were much more free to do their own thing. And at this level, it's been really hard to get good bloggers and get kids to put up consistent content because their days are so packed, and you can't pay them. And there's a myriad of other reasons, but that's. I can tell you, if there's one thing I would change about social media and working on this level, it's the blogger piece because it's incredibly frustrating to me. We haven't found the right answer for that yet here, although we're doing better than we have in the past.
Yeah. Right, I absolutely agree. It's a difficult problem, and so you work around it and you try and look at the college and do exactly the same thing that they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, there's I remember about a year or two ago. Oberlin College came out with a site. I think they ended up making it sort of not an official site, but it was done by the official Oberlin staff, and it was called, Why the F Should I Choose Oberlin? And it's a pretty humorous site, but it's built so that people can say why they chose Oberlin as their college, and every sentence begins with why the F should I choose Oberlin, and you just can't do that in an independent school, and you can't use certain innuendo, in your posts, and so you've got to be a little bit more circumspect in the kinds of things that you do, and that's maybe another little difference that just got to work with. That's all.
Exactly. So, what do you see as for the next? Again, looking for inspiration, looking for ideas. What are kind of the next big things that you're seeing out there? Where are you guys going to invest your time in next?
Who knows where we're going to go? I mean, I can't tell you right now what even our next big projects are going to be for the next year. I need to really sit down and think about that. But here are some thoughts. I mean, I think that Instagram is coming on very strong. In fact, it's already there, especially among sort of the high school kind of a crowd. And we need to, I think, make better use of Instagram. And we've started doing something with a student who loves to post photos on Instagram, and so we're actually getting her help to help us make that venue a little bit more lively than it is right now. Google Plus, we have a Google Plus account, but we've not really done anything with it. I'm not really sure if I see a huge advantage to doing a lot with Google Plus, except that Google is giving an advantage in search to people who have a Google Plus account, and so I think that's something we're going to have to do something more with.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn is something I feel like we could do more with for the alumni community using LinkedIn, and then there's just more blogging, maybe more video, maybe some webcasting. I know Pinterest, Tumblr, Vine and Snapchat are all tools that are out there. I don't really know what we're going to do with those, if anything. There's the whole, search engine optimization and ROI and social media ads that we haven't really, areas that we really haven't spent a lot of time in, so those are things that we might want to do. Responsive design, that's an issue that we've got to deal with. I would say that's a big issue, dealing with responsive design and just making sure that everything you're doing is mobile friendly. That's a huge challenge for us as a school, as I think it is for every school. And there's a couple things we'd love to do. We'd love to find the magic bullet to have a really active alumni community. Where Ning didn't seem to fill the bill, and the Facebook may not be filling the bill. The question in my mind is, do alumni want to have sort of their own community, or is that really something that we've got to just accept maybe is not going to make sense? So there's a lot of different things that we sort of could be doing, and I've got to say, I don't know. I don't know exactly where we're going to spend all our time in the next year.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of brings it up where you've got limited resources. All of us do here, regardless of the size of the school. And what you really need to do is focus on what you can be successful at, what you can do really well, and what your audiences want. And figuring out that priority and prioritizing. It's not always the easiest thing to do. But then again, going back to what we said earlier, the idea is you kind of got to fail fast, and then move on to the next thing, right?
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely. And so it keeps the job fun for us all.
Yeah, exactly. It's always fun figuring out the neat things. And I find, we got on Instagram just over about a year and a half ago. It's kind of one of those things where it came out. It's actually created by a couple of Middlesex grads, another ISL school. Independent School League school. So I kind of grabbed the username on it. Didn't really do much with it until this August. And that for me is the next thing that we need to really do a better job of paying attention to, because it's created such a buzz. What I think it's actually done, because it can do exactly what we talked about way back in the beginning, is it's a cross-linking stuff. So with an Instagram photo, I can take a great nostalgic photo on Instagram, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, and what that does is I think it drives up the audience on all of those. I know that our institutional Twitter account has almost doubled in the last year, and I think a lot of that traffic is because of the work that we've done on Instagram in the last 7-8 months.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I think you're absolutely right. And that's one thing I know I'm even wrestling with personally. I can go to an event and with a really nice camera and take a bunch of pictures. And what I want to do is go back to the office, make a nice photo gallery in SmugMug, and then do a post, later in the day or the next day. But meanwhile, somebody else was already there at the event. They took an Instagram picture, posted it. It's got 50 likes just like that, and I'm behind. I'm behind all of a sudden. And so there's definitely this trade-off between instant posting and quality posting that is a struggle to sort of deal with. And I think the instantaneous nature of Instagram is going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point there, because if everybody has this mobile phone and they have access to that, does that take away from the SmugMug piece on there right off the bat? Like, because now everybody is
right,
and you can see that too with just the cell phones in general, that people have access to these great, really high quality photos basically right in their pocket. And they don't have to bother with the camera or anything like that as well.
Yeah, so, I agree. It's fun times
but
ahead.
Again, like you said, that's what makes it fun. Sort of the key for me to implement things is, can I do it on my iPhone, and can I do it quickly? And usually those two are kind of go hand in hand. Like if I can post something, access of something, or create some sort of content on my iPhone or on my iPad while walking around our campus, then yeah, we'll go with it.
Yeah, I think that's the way of the future. Absolutely.
So one of the things I'm having Brendan put up right now too is one of the moments when I figured out that Instagram was the next thing. I took this shot of our mailboxes down in the mailroom back in, I think I took this back in, gosh, I don't remember when, September maybe, and shared it on Twitter and on Facebook with this simple little caption, "Can you remember your mailbox number?" And the amount of traffic and comments that I got on that simple little post with that little sentence, and it was something where I was like randomly walking through looking for some desperate for content. Yeah, it is. No, but it may be mislabeled, but that's my own fault. So that for me was like sort of the aha moment when here's something that I can take a snapshot of, push out on 3 different platforms, essentially 3 different channels, and get immediate and a significant amount of feedback on and interaction with right off the bat. So Instagram is kind of, for me, the next big one. And it's totally simple, right?
Great. Yeah, I think that's a great example. I've heard those. Yeah. I'm going to get better at it, though, but I hear it is totally simple.
Right. I just wish they could do multiple sign-ons so that I wouldn't have to keep signing out of my
But I've heard those.
account.
Yeah, that's actually a problem. I have posted before on the school account thinking it was my personal account, and that was a bit of a scary moment. So I got to watch that.
Exactly. We've all had those, I'm sure. Do you want to talk a little about the Andover snapshots here at all before we wrap things totally up?
Yeah, the Andover snapshots. That's just an example of our student blog that we have. This is run largely through the admission office. And as I mentioned before, it's sort of a very managed kind of affair where the students, we recruit these 5 students to do some writing. They're very excited about doing it at first. And it's a bit of a struggle to keep their interest up through the year. And when they do write something, it gets reviewed before it gets posted. And they've done a great job with it overall. But it's one example of one blog that we have. And going forward, I would love to do some other blogs that really get the faculty voice out there. I know our faculty are a bright bunch of people, and they have lots of, I think, interesting things to say and lots of interesting opinions. And we haven't yet figured out a way to maybe get their voices out there in a way that's practical. But maybe that's something we can figure out and do more with blogs. But so this Andover Snapshots is just an example of one blog that we do have out there, and we'd like to do more with it.
Yeah, I think it just takes one. You get that one faculty member who gets really excited about it and does a great job with it, and then can be sort of the evangelist walking around campus talking about it and how great it is. But it is hard to find that one who can be that spark plug for you. Well, Steve, this has been great chatting with you about social media and learning about all the stuff that you guys are doing over there at Andover. Certainly, again, this is my first time doing one of these, and I've totally enjoyed it. I hope you have too.
Yes, I have. Thanks, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah, and hopefully
this is my first time on a Google Hangout, and this is yet another venue I'm going to have.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly. So, everyone out there, I hope you will tune in again to Higher Ed Live and join us next Thursday night when Elena Wines recaps Higher Ed Web Michigan with a panel of attendees and presenters. And again, thank you everyone for tuning in this week. And I'm Drew Milliken, and I've been really enjoyed chatting with my guest here, Stephen Porter from Andover, and we'll catch you all the next time.